predicting hypothetical UFC matchups. The first one is Khabib versus Islam. And before all you Dagestani fans, like, go in my comment section and be like, oh brother, these guys would never fight each other, brother, they have respect. I know, dude, it's hypothetical for a reason. And how can you not compare these guys? These two are the two best lightweights of all time. So it's pretty interesting to just hypothetically compare them. And first off, Khabib's advantages. Khabib has much better ground and pound than Islam. Islam is not really a ground and pound specialist, right? He doesn't really utilize it anywhere near as often as Khabib did, which I think that would improve his game if he did. But also, the general consensus is that Khabib is probably a little bit better at pure wrestling and takedowns in MMA, and I agree with that. From the fights that I've seen, I think Khabib is the slightly better wrestler. And Khabib also has better forward pressure in the octagon. Like, watch his fight against Justin Gaethje. That fight really showed Khabib's pressure, and it's super interesting. You should go watch it. But Islam is more of a counter striker, right? He's more sniper, like his first fight with Volkanovski. He was kind of waiting for Volk, and then he would hit him with some good counter shots. But Khabib is super pressure based, so this fight would most likely be Khabib pressuring and Islam on the outside, trying to land some counter shots. And another one of Khabib's advantages, I think Khabib has the better chin. You know, we've seen Khabib hit with some huge shots, and he just eats them. Like, I think he got hit with a spinning back kick from Edson Barbosa and just completely ran right through it. It was insane. And Islam, we've seen him hurt, we've seen him knocked out, and we've seen him knocked down to Volkanovski. So I think it's fair to say that Khabib has a better chin. But Islam, on the other hand, he is the much better striker. I mean, if you look at some of Khabib's striking, it looks kind of silly, right? Because he's so much of a wrestler that he didn't really even focus on his striking too much. But Islam is an elite striker, dude. Outboxing Dustin Poirier, outstriking Volkanovski, knocking him out in short. It's like, that counts as like half of Volkanovski. That's Volkanovski on short notice. But still, it shows how good of a striker Islam really is, right? Like, there's no world where Khabib is head kicking Volkanovski. And also, I think Islam is better in the clinch. He has better knees in the clinch. He's super strong in that tie clinch. And the clinch isn't something that we usually see Khabib utilize super much in his fights. But who wins this fight? I think we have to answer the question, can Islam defend the takedown / submissions from Khabib? Because if he can, he's going to be able to utilize his much better striking in order to, win. And Islam doesn't have to defend every single one, right? He can get taken down and maybe even hit with some ground and pound, but he just can't be submitted. And can he do that for the most part? Can he defend some of the takedowns and, minimize the punishment from those takedowns? And the thing is, I think he can. Khabib might take Islam down, but I think Islam's going to be able to stuff some of them and then use his striking to win, because his striking is just so much better than Khabib's. The next fight, GSP versus Anderson Silva. Dude, this was hyped up. This was built. Everyone wanted it, but it never happened. And I think I kind of have a controversial take on this fight. Let's get into it. So first off, GSP's advantages. Obviously, the wrestling. He is a great wrestler, and that would be his biggest advantage in this fight, is to try to take him down and get some good ground and pound going. And also, I think GSP is physically stronger, even though he's at a lighter weight class. I mean, he's just built, dude, and I think that in the octagon, if this is assuming they're fighting at middleweight, right, like they were supposed to, then I still think that GSP is going to be much stronger, dude. He's much more muscular, just a unit, dude. And now, Silva's advantages, obviously, he has the better striking, the better counter shots, and he has a much greater finish threat. Like, look at this record, right? I don't even know how many fights, but out of all of these, only 2 of them were decisions, right? And he has a lot of KOs and even has he has a very underrated ground game, right? He has super long legs, so his guard is very unique and hard to deal with. And even if GSP does get him down, I think Silva would have some pretty solid defense. And now GSP, on the other hand, he was critiqued a lot for taking fights to decisions, right? Like, he had a 7-fight decision streak, I'm pretty sure. So this might make GSP a little bit more tentative when going for takedowns or blitzing forward, that he could get caught coming in. But I didn't really write out a lot of their advantages because I think who wins? I think we have to ask the question, can Silva catch or tire out GSP? And I think that this is the question to ask because this fight is happening at 185, right? If we look at GSP's performance against Michael Bisping, he won the fight, but he was losing that fight until he won. Like, you know that he was pretty nervous. Like, look at his face, dude. His face was busted up. Michael Bisping was busting up GSP, and GSP was tiring out. You could tell that physically watching the fight. Maybe because he's so big and has to carry around all that weight and has so much muscle. I don't know, but GSP, when the one time he did fight at middleweight, he just got super tired out. And people are gonna hate me for this take, but I think that Silva was actually going to win this fight. GSP is going to tire, and that's going to leave him vulnerable to one of the best strikers in the sport, one of the best counter strikers in the sport. And I think Anderson Silva is just going to catch GSP with something that he doesn't see coming. Now, sure, I'm not. I think GSP is going to be winning until he's not. Kind of the opposite of the Michael Bisping fight, right? The Michael Bisping fight, GSP he was getting beat up pretty much. I'm not going to say he was like completely losing, but I think it was clear that Michael Bisping, the tides are turning in his favor, right? I think this fight, GSP might get some takedowns, but I don't think he's going to get a submission or anything. He might get some good ground and pound, sure, but GSP is not this like submission machine, you know? And I think in the third, fourth, and fifth rounds, GSP is going to get tired and start to move slow and maybe not have the best head movement. And I think Silva's going to catch him, dude, because that's what he does, man. Like, look at this, man. Look at how many KOs and TKOs in a row there are. And I just don't think you have to ask yourself, do you really think that GSP can survive 5 rounds with Silva? Because if he can, then sure, I think he can win a decision. But seeing him at 185, he got super tired. And I think Silva would just be able to take advantage of that, right? Which is why I have Silva winning. So let me know what you think about these fights. Probably a pretty controversial take from me. I mean GSP, he's considered like one of the greatest of all time, and Anderson Silva's in that conversation, right? But most people say number one is Jones and number two is GSP. That's like the casual take. That's what most people say. So people might not agree with this, but hey, let me know, man. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but and also there is something to be said about the fact that the Michael Bisping fight happened 3 years after GSP, or GSP took a 3 year hiatus, and then that fight happened. So maybe if GSP was in his prime, his cardio would have been different, and maybe that's true. Maybe you're right, but I have to judge based on what I've seen, and what I've seen from him at middleweight is that he's gonna tire, and I don't think GSP would be the one to finish the fight. I think if he wins, he's gonna win by decision because he didn't really win that much by finish in his career.